Hiya, welcome to Darren in the Studio. Thank you for swinging by for another video. You see us and you find us here on a Thursday afternoon, not long finished work, and the bank holiday, the Easter bank holiday, is almost upon us. Going to be a really busy weekend, this one for us. We've got with our Kiss tribute, Counterfeit Kiss, we're doing a show tomorrow in Uttoxeter, and then we are in Leicester supporting the Wasp tribute Electric Circus at a place called the Metal Monocle in Leicester. Really looking forward to that. But I thought, why we've been sort of catching up, haven't we, with our anniversary albums. And we didn't do 1965 because I just didn't have enough albums to sort of warrant doing a video, really. I couldn't fill the video. We did 1975, that was a good year. We've done 1985. This video is looking at 1995. 10 albums from my collection, which are turning 30 years old in 2025. And it's pretty scary to think that these albums are physically as well 30 years old. Every single album of these 10 are on CD. I don't own any of these albums on vinyl. Apart from a couple, they're all 30 years old, or I've owned them for 30 years. So, shall we get started? Looking at 10 albums that are 30 years old in my collection. If I can remember, I'll try and let you know where I actually bought them as well. Now, in 1995, or within 1995, for a time, I was working at R Price Records in Corby. R Price was a music chain that was sort of owned by Virgin Records in the end. It's been shut for a long time. It was a decent little record shop, actually, and I realized at that time how much I'd kind of been ripped off when it comes to buying music. Let's say, for example, I learned that if you bought an album for, say, I don't know, $12.99, the actual dealer price, what they used to call the dealer price, was something like £6, £7. So there was a massive markup on them. Anyway, 10 albums from 1995 celebrating their 30th birthday this year, 2025. Bought this album, this first one, they're all in alphabetical order. Bought this first album when it came out as a new release. This is Garth Brooks and his album Fresh Horses. This is a great album. Really, I like me a bit of Garth Brooks. I've got quite a few of his albums. There's some really great tracks on it. It's a really good album. One of my favourite songs of his, anyway, is a song called She's Every Woman. You ever get a chance to check that out, then do so. It really is a great album. This is out on the Capitol label, as I think most of his stuff was. Produced by Alan Reynolds, again, who produced a lot of Garth Brooks albums. Like I say, this is a nice little original 1995 CD, purchased as a new release. Garth Brooks, Rope in the Wind, that's one of his other albums. Fresh Horses, 1995. 30 years old in 2025. And this CD, like I say, is physically 30 years old. Next, somebody who had a comeback in 1995. This gentleman had been kind of off the scene for a while due to personal reasons. He got himself a bit of a drug addiction, a cocaine habit. Ended up in prison for some time, and came out and really sorted his life out, and he hasn't really looked back since. This is Steve Earle. In 1995, Steve had an album called Train A Comin', and this is it. Again, this was purchased as a new release. I remember being in the record shop on my day off, and I was in the record shop, and I heard this over the system, and I thought, that sounds just like Steve Earle. And I'd bought everything by Steve Earle up to that point. And like I say, Steve had been quiet for a long, long time. And this was his comeback record. This is out on the Castle Communications label. I think it's through Warner's. Is it? I thought it was Transamerica. I can't read it now. Anyway, yeah. Steve Earle's comeback album, Train A Comin'. Like I said, bought this as a brand new release. 30 years old, this CD. Great album as well. This album was actually recorded as a demo, and the story goes that the record company liked it so much that they just said, well, let's put that out, because it's great. It's great songs on here. Mystery Train Part 2, Hometown Blues is amazing. Sometimes She Forgets, Goodbye, Tom Amos Blues. Tom Amos Prayer. Oh, Angel is the Devil. Ben McCullough's great. Comsa Valley, which I think is a Townes Van Zandt cover. Steve Earle, Train A Comin', 30 years old in 2025. Next, another Steve of the Forbert kind this time. Again, somebody who had been very quiet up until this sort of period. Steve Forbert. This is Steve's Mission of the Crossroad Palms album from 1995. This is out on the Pandolin Giant Records. This isn't... I didn't buy this as a new release. I wasn't really buying Steve Forbert music in 1995. I had a couple of his albums, but I wasn't really buying his new stuff. So I caught up with this a few years ago. This is a great album, great opening track. It sure was better back then. If you ever get a chance, check that out. Steve Forbert, Mission of the Crossroad Palms, 30 years old. Like I said, Steve had been signed to Epic Records and then went through a legal battle to get out of his contract, and more or less spent a good few years not making records. And then he came back with this. He came back with a couple of Geffen albums, I think, and then this one. Good stuff. Steve Forbert. You ever get a chance to check out Steve? Got some great new music out as well. Still around, still making great music. Celebrating his 30th birthday in 2025. Next, a band who, again, went through some transitions, if you like. This is Iron Maiden's The X Factor. 30 years old this year. This was the first album to feature Blaze Bayley from Wolfsbane on vocals. Of course, Bruce Dickinson had bailed, and Blaze Bayley was hired to for this album. And I think Blaze was on a couple of albums and a live album, I think. Maybe someone will tell me different if they know better. I got a chance to meet Blaze Bayley actually a few weeks ago, and he was really, really nice. Great guy. Big fan of Wolfsbane as well. Got me some Wolfsbane, love it. X Factor from Iron Maiden, like I say, first one to feature Blaze Bayley, and it's a nice little shot of the band inside somewhere, I think. Let's have a look. So there you go. It's hard to believe that this CD is 30 years old, and look at it. It looks absolutely pristine. That's because I've always looked after my stuff, of course. First album with Blaze Bayley, big hit single on this, Man on the Edge, which I think is the track of the album, to be fair. Really great track. Celebrating 30 years, Iron Maiden's The X Factor. Now here's an album which you will find in tons of charity shops and second-hand shops. And this sold is probably the best-selling album of all these 10. to be fair, and it's still a great album. Still stands as fresh today, I think. Oasis, back in 1995, had this out. What's the Story, Morning Glory, out on the Creation label. This is just like classic after classic. Roll With It, Wonderwall, Don't Look Back in Anger, Some Might Say, Cast No Shadow, She's Electric, Champagne Supernova is my favourite track on here. Oasis, again, bought this as a new release. Celebrating 30 years. Can you believe this album is 30 years old? Cracking record. Also, I think with these 10, you'll find that the mix of music is pretty diverse, you know. Next up, we've got Joan Osborne. She had a big hit in 1995 with a song called One of Us. And that track is on this album, but this is a great album as well. Really good writing, really clever songwriting on this. Joan Osborne's Relic album. This is on the Mercury label, I believe. Looks like Mercury, yeah, on the Mercury label. Didn't buy this as a new release. I used to have this on a home recorded cassette for years and years and years, and then I found it in a charity shop about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. I thought I'd pick it up, and I remember I hadn't heard it for a while, and I remembered it, just how good an album it was. Joan Osborne, Relic, 30 years old this year, 2025. Here's an album which my brother bought me this as a new release, as a thank you for putting him up. This is Pink Floyd's Pulse album. This is a nice little original 1995 CD. This is the one which had the little blinking bulb on the side. Unfortunately, the battery's long died, and I don't want to destroy the case and put a new battery in it. I suppose I could do, but I don't want to do that. This is how it was originally released. I think you can get it on a sort of like a CD case version. Now this has I mean, all Pink Floyd stuff's really, really nice, right? And it's got really nice booklet with it. The CDs come in little wallets. Got really nice sort of artwork throughout, pictures of the band. Recorded in Earl's Court, as far as I'm aware, I think. I might be wrong. Someone will tell me if I'm wrong. I think they made recorded live in Europe and the UK. I think some of it was Earl's Court. I'm sure they did a DVD video of it as well. You get a nice little hard cardboard sort of inner with some of the credits, and of course the box itself. Like I say, the bulbs well and truly died, but still got the original hype sticker on the top there. Pink Floyd's Pulse, 30 years old this year. Next, Queen. This is Queen's last studio album featuring new material. This is Made in Heaven. Again, this is a nice little original. Of course, it's got the embossed Queen down the side there. I don't know whether that's pretty rare now. He's probably quite a unique thing. This is out on the EMI Parlophone label, of course. Made up of songs that were left by Freddie in the very final sessions, and also songs taken off some of his solo albums, some of his solo work. And also there's a song in here called Heaven for Everyone, which was it Heaven for Everyone? Yeah, I'm sure it is. Heaven for Everyone was originally by Roger Taylor's band The Cross, and Freddie Mercury provided the vocal for it on the Shove It album, and they obviously took that and put Queen on it instead and used it for that, and other songs that had previously been used. I think I Was Born to Love You was one of Freddie's solo stuff. You Don't Fool Me, possibly. But there's some beautiful songs on here. I mean, A Winter's Tale is gorgeous. Heaven for Everyone. Mother Love is probably my favourite track on here. I understand that Mother Love was the very final vocal that Freddie did within his lifetime. Like I say, this is an original. Queen, Made in Heaven, 30 years old this year, from 1995. Next, one of my favourite singer-songwriters who started making records again, guy who's got an album out recently in 2024, Dwight Yoakam. This is his 1995 album, Gone. I used to pick up Dwight Yoakam albums all the time, and you know, this was no exception. Great album. This got some good songs on here. Sorry You Asked is good. Gone, That'll Be Me. This Much I Know, Baby Why Not, it's a good song. Heart of Stone, produced by Pete Anderson, who produced a lot of, in fact, all of Dwight Yoakam's albums up until Population Me, I think. They stopped working together at after Population Me. Dwight Yoakam, Gone, again, like I say, bought this as a brand new release when it came out. Been in my collection for 30 years. Makes me feel very, very old. But a great album. Dwight Yoakam, Gone, from 30 years ago. Last, but certainly not least, and I've left this one to the end because this was not released in 1995, although it was recorded in 1995. And I thought, because it's 30 years old, I thought I'd include it. And also, it was recorded on the 13th of September, 1995, which is my birthday. I wasn't born in 1995, of course, you can tell that. This is an album called Together Live at the Bluebird. This is Steve Earle, Townes Van Zandt, and Guy Clark. This album actually came out in 2001. This is on the Catfish Records label, 2001, but recorded in 1995. This has had numerous sort of re-releases. I think this was the first time that it was released. You can find it with different artwork and stuff like that. But this is a great album. If you've never heard this album and you like Steve Earle, you like singer-songwriters, sort of country rock, I mean, three of the best here, Guy Clark, Townes Van Zandt, and Steve. And of course, this would have been recorded as Steve was sort of getting back to his fitness, if you like, when sort of Train A Comin', we saw it earlier, was coming out. I think he does a track from Train A Comin' on this. Together Live at the Bluebird, very famous music venue in the States. From 2001, but recorded in 1995. A really special album, this one. Three of the greats all together on one night. Some great stories as well that Townes Van Zandt sort of say. Some really great stories on this album. If you get a chance, you want to pick this up. Really great album. Together at the Bluebird, Steve Earle, Townes Van Zandt, and Guy Clark. Released in 2001, but recorded in 1995. A 30-year-old recording in 2025. And of course, Steve's the only one who's still with us. Townes Van Zandt and Guy Clark are now passed away, but we still have their music. That's it. That's our rundown of 1995 albums that are 30 years old in 2025. Tell me about your favorite albums from 1995. I'd love to hear about them. Also, I really love it when you tell me where you're watching from. That's always very exciting. And make sure you like the video. If you like what you've seen, like it, subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff. You know the deal by now. Watch one of the other videos, and we'll see you soon in the studio for another video. Until that time, take care. We'll see you in a bit. Ta-da.